Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello, it's Sunday night. I hope you are all safe and well. And yes, it is time for another live stream. Now, I'm just going to check OBS because it's hiding the volumes from me. Hopefully that sounds okay. I hope you are all safe and well. I can see all you amazing people in the chat. Just looking up here on my screen that is next to the camera. Hello, Expander. I could see you in there. Let me just work my way back up. Hello, Darkman. How are you doing? Audio Geek FPV. Phil Upton. How are you, my friend? Audio Geek again. Dennis. Mike Bergman, Robin, Flying Dutchman, William Tam, how are you, my friend? What's up, FPV? How are you? Kimbo, Mike Bergman again, Floor Flyer, hey, Floor, how are you? Ken Leper, sorry, not Leper, completely different meaning. Potato Flying FPV, Jackal PT, hello. Now, I hope you are all safe and well. It's been a really, really interesting week. If for those of you who didn't see, we did a live stream on Friday. It didn't all quite go to plan. There was some issues with the audio, mostly on my side. It's nothing to do with the guys, really. It was getting the levels right. It's really hard when you're bringing people in via Skype, and because you're bringing them in via Skype, I wasn't hearing program output, and that's a mistake that I made, and that's something I need to check in the future, is that I have program output on the audio so I can level it up. But what was important was we got the message across, and that was that the project is now live. It's out there, you can use it, and more importantly, it's making a difference for people every day. 30% Judas. No, it's my fault. I was running the show. So, but the important thing is it's out there, and what a change it has made, because the title of tonight's show is very much specific to that, and that is DJI the best option for digital FPV today? And I know this is going to get me in more trouble. I'm already in trouble with the HDZero people. They're arguing me on that side because of comments I made last week. So I'm going to upset them this week, but we'll also upset the Avatar owners this week as well. And I'm lucky. I'm privileged. I have all of these systems on the bench. I am not affiliated to any of them, and I can give you my honest thoughts. And the really interesting thing with DJI has been The OSD was a big stumbling block for many, many people, but that has gone, and that's gone. It's blown out the doors. It's gone away. The only real stumbling block left for people with DJI today is that 13-kilometer limit, and let's be honest, that's an issue for a very, very small number of people. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens, and we're going to have to see how the next 2 or 3 months develop. But what is clear is batteries are discharging. That's what the beep is. It's like Big Ben. We'll just wait for that to finish. How many beeps? There we go, all done. It's going to be interesting to see how the others step up. And this question actually is very much apparent and important right now, because things are about to change again when we get the release of the HDZero goggles, and that's when the system shifts once again. So today's question is DJI the best option today? And we're going to talk about that in a moment. Now, I'm going to go up, just jumping through the chat a bit more. Good afternoon from Canada. Good afternoon, KMNO Jones. How are you, my friend? Synthetic, I think it is. How are you? Christopher Greenwood. What's more significant, new tech from DJI, the camera or the avatar, or the new goggles? That's a really interesting thing, actually. And I am a big believer in the big improvement with Avatar is the camera and not just the system. The camera plays a huge part of that, and we'll come on to that in a moment too. There's now 3 areas to cover. Best category, long range, acro, and cinema. Interesting. Yeah. All questions was answered on Friday. Thank you for that, mate. HDZero will be the best choice for HDZero. Yeah, that's without doubt. And this is, look, we have to separate this off. This is general FPV. If you're going to be racing, it's HDZero. I'm not going to ever argue that. That's without doubt. And I'm not saying HDZero is a one-trick pony either, because it isn't. But when you talk about everything overall, and we will come on to that, it depend on the firmware version of the goggles. If you buy V2s today, you should be okay. It's only really an issue if you want to use the Avatar, or you buy them with the Avatar as well. And that'll go away in a very short period of time as well. Hi, how are you? So, it's going to be interesting. So we had the launch of that, and it's also been a really weird week. I want to talk about a few things. For those who don't know, there's been some weird stuff this week. Poor Pavel, the iNav dev, I don't know how to say his last name, but got his channel hacked on the weekend and started streaming crypto nonsense. The poor bugger was in a hell of a mess, but he's recovered it amazingly. We finished the stream Friday night, and I got a message from someone saying, have you seen Pavel's channel has been hacked? So I tried emailing him, I tried Discord calling him, Discord messaging him, and Skyping him, and he didn't find it until the next morning, unfortunately. But luckily, the damage wasn't too bad. He's recovered it. He's got it working again. What it is for those of us who do this, it's scary as crap, because it appears he got done on a bit of a scam. But what's really worrying is the fact that they were able to go in and turn off two-factor authentication for his channel, which is just insanity that you can turn it off without having to put the code in they send you in the first place. It's mad. But yeah, he's been fixed. He's up and running again. I think he's ready to go. We had a few messages back and forth. I don't know him particularly well, but we do message now and again. I messaged a few other creators as well, just to say, hey, look, this has happened. If you haven't seen, scary as you like. And for those of us who do this, the thought of having the channel hijacked is just horrific. It really is. So, yeah, scary times. But he's back up and running. He should be all okay. Those extra views may help him along a little bit as well. You never know. Perhaps getting your channel hacked and loads of views might actually help in the long run. I don't really know. So there's been that. And there's also been some other stuff as well. So, as always, we're going to talk about DJI first. But if you have any questions, please do put them in the chat. I will try and answer them. There is 109 of you amazing people here. Please do consider giving the stream a like whilst you're here if you haven't done so already. we do accept super chats. They are not required for me to answer a question, but what I will say is your question is more likely to be seen if it is subject to a super chat, but it really isn't a requirement. I will try and answer everything. So, the big one and the big controversial, and I've got my cup of tea ready, and actually I haven't said that, I got my cake as well. The big one, and I just want to start two things because I didn't start recording before I started the stream either. So, the big one is DJI today the best overall option for digital FPV out there? Now, the reason I say that is this. We know DJI has been one of the solid options from day one, but there has been some downsides. And the big downsides for DJI was, number one, they didn't really bring any new firmware. Number two, it didn't have full OSD. And number three, it does have that 13-kilometer limit. However, a lot of this has just gone out the window, and the big one is the OSD. And the project, the amazing work the guys at WTF have done, just has changed everything. And it's my opinion right now that DJI is overall the best option for digital FPV. I'm not saying it's perfect, but it really is the best overall product considering now what we have. And it wouldn't be a bad time to get into it if you were going to, because we don't know what the future is for DJI. We believe there's new systems around the corner. We believe we're going to see O3. We strongly believe we're going to see O3. I've got an E-unit mock-up here somewhere. I've lost it. That sent the internet wild. I have a 3D print of it, which is a genuine 3D print of it. It's not been made by someone. It's come from somewhere officially. So we know it's happening. But today, we have the current system, which basically has everything we want. And really the question is there a solid reason to go with Avatar right now? Ignoring HDZero, because the argument for HDZero really does sort of stand anyway as it did before. It really is still about racing, no variable latency, and the good thing with HDZero is all of that argument stands. But the difference between DJI and Avatar today just changed completely. And if I was someone considering the Avatar system, I would be wondering what is the point? Because we're still waiting on the new firmware, and actually I can talk about that. I have had some discussions with Cadex Walksnail this week. They are working on new firmware now. They were sort of asking me openly what my sort of stance is, where the system is today and where it's going to be, and am I going to do a review? Because I still haven't reviewed the Avatar system. Whilst I've made a lot of content on it, I haven't actually reviewed the product, because you can't review something which basically doesn't work properly. And that was where my stance was at. It is interesting. There's a lot of benefits to each system. You know, someone's just mentioned there, Lee's mentioned about the long range test on Avatar. It is, but it isn't reliable right now. Yes, it hit 31 kilometers, and if you haven't seen Wes Varty's amazing video, Wes always does some amazing videos where he hit 31 kilometers on the Avatar system, but it wasn't without issues. It was with dropouts along the way and recoveries, and it's hard to recommend that when it isn't sort of a solid link on the way out. And there's some sort of belief and thoughts it's dropping signal and recovering as it's moving through the MCS rates, as it's changing protocol. So it could be that. And if you haven't seen, let's put Wes's video up. If those of you who haven't seen it, it's just, Wes makes such good content. And do you know the worst thing about Wes's video? How high the production value was on all his A-roll, his B-roll. It's ridiculous. I am deeply upset with how good Wes's video looks. And I've already told him he can go to hell, because it really does look bloody fantastic. And it's not one bit of it, it's every bit of it. Do you see the effort? Let's just pause the audio on his ad. Just the A-roll, the B-roll. It all just looked fantastic. What's this? What is this all about? You can wind your neck in, my friend. You really, really can wind your neck in. No more of this, right? Looks way too good and professional. And this. Look at this. This bloody light shadow on the side here and all of this lovely setup. Not acceptable, Mr. Varty. Not acceptable. But anyway, let's get to the real crux of this. And the real crux of this is the system flying out to, he's at 28 kilometers, 30 kilometers. His neck is made from 30.25. So look, it has done it. It has achieved incredible range. And it looks decent. Let's not pretend it doesn't. And actually, the real interesting thing with Avatar is it looks really good at a high level with that light. Any Mavic can pull that out, yeah. And you know, it's a great result. It really is. And the image quality just looks decent. And when you looked at how HDZero looked at the same range, I think, does he show the two? Let me just see. He does put them. Yeah, here we go. It's on this bit here where he showed you how HDZero looked at the same range. You know, HDZero just... Was that HD? Oh, it's DJI. Oh, no, that was HDZero. Yeah, you can just see, look, it's a different kettle of fish. It really is. But what is worrying is this, right? So this is the worrying element, is what you're about to see here is the dropouts. So you get the signal drop as he was doing it. Oh, no, sorry, that was the antennas. Where was it? I'm just want to find, yeah, here we go. So in his long range test at like 6 kilometers, he gets a stop, the system drops, and then recovers again. And that's the worrying part. That's the bit we need to see work on. And we think it's something like the switch in the compression rates in the system. So it's dropping the link and it's reestablishing the link. And look, it is reestablishing the link, which is the important part, but it's a bit unnerving to say the least. So we'd like to see that. And he had 2 of them, if I recall. That we think is something that's been happening to people with the blackouts. The blackouts are something that people have been experiencing, and that's why the firmware was released. So, you know, GMI's, yeah, but would that happen at short range? It would happen in a loss of signal, in a reduction of signal. So it's not related to range, it's related to the signal level. So you could have that happen at short range when you went behind a building, for instance. So that's something we need to understand more. That's the quirks. But look, it's done it. It's incredible, and it looks decent. You know, the bit rate's here at 3 megabits a second. The bit rate on Avatar hasn't been that linear for me, but it did look quite linear in this video. And yeah, so if you want to watch the video, it's available to watch on Wes's page. Please do check it out if you haven't seen it. Wes is an amazing guy, although he needs to wind his neck in on his production values. But it is a fantastic video. And if you want to see it, I'll pop a link to it in the description after this one finishes. In fact, I'll put a link to it. Don't go now, though, but you can watch it later. But so Avatar is more than capable. DJI, obviously, 13 kilometers, that's it. So, depending on what you're doing, Avatar is going to be better for long range right now, especially. But when it comes to general FPV, I'll be honest, it's really hard right now to argue against DJI being overall the best option. We've got a system which we know is stable. We've got a system that now has full OSD, and we've got a system that has real big availability. And on top of that, we've got new cameras coming for DJI from RunCam. They're releasing finally a 120 frames a second camera. I'm not sure if it is on their website yet, but they have their Phoenix camera coming, which is going to be the 120 frames a second camera. They have put it on Facebook. I just don't know, have they put it on their website yet? So let's just have a look. We'll find it on Facebook. But yeah, RunCam are going to finally be bringing in the 120 frames a second cameras as well. RunCam FPV. There we go. They've hinted at it. And there we go. Go back to the desktop. So what they've said is this. RunCam new 120 frames a second low latency camera to be released soon. Now, what we don't know is... Let's just make this full screen, please. Or there, at least. What we don't... Audio off. What we don't know is if they're going to sell this camera separately. That's the thing we don't know. But RunCam do have the WASP 120 frames a second camera coming. They were originally going to be calling it like the Falcon or the Phoenix. But yeah, they've changed the name of the camera. So this, again, is just showing you how it looks at night, and it looks fairly decent at night as well. When Walksnail closed DJI, they launched a new AU, and boom. Yeah, you know, RunCam have been quite slow out of the door, I'll be honest, to bring new cameras for DJI. I thought we'd see a lot more, a lot quicker. I will be honest with you. But it is nice to see more cameras coming. You know, stock of the other cameras is decent today from Cadex, but you're not going to have them forever. My understanding with Cadex is once Vistas from Cadex and their cameras are sold out, you won't be getting any more. But yeah, this is the new camera they've got coming. So what they say is new 120 frames a second low latency camera to be released soon. Latency as low as 28 milliseconds, higher field of view, nice performance in low light. Designed for use with RunCam Link, RunCam Wasp. Please stay tuned. So it's good to see. So we've got more cameras coming for DJI. They did also say they're doing another camera, which was like a Falcon HD, but I've not... I think, was it the Falcon? It was something. They had another name for it, but I can't remember what it's called. Or the Phoenix. There was a Phoenix. They were talking about doing a HD... Sorry, 120 frames version of the Phoenix, but we haven't seen that yet. So really, is DJI, you know, the question in this, is DJI the best option in digital FPV right now? It's hard to say no today, but it's not going to be for long. It's not going to be for long. HDZero working on the goggles, and Avatar is improving. I haven't flown Avatar for a few weeks because I've been flying DJI Solid now. I've been flying DJI a lot. And actually, the last 24 hours, I've been flying DJI a lot with this, the original remote. And there is a reason for that, because I've been testing a new quad from Chris Rosser. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. I don't know if anyone else has had their hands on this yet. And I've been using this thing. And I tell you what I have noticed is, this has no penetration at all compared to Express ELRS. You realize very quickly how bad the link is. However, it does feel a very good remote. But I've been using my V1s continuously for the last 2 days. Although I am having some strange penetration behavior. Just move them out of the way. And I've been doing that. And let me show you guys what I've been doing that on. I've been doing that on this. Now, this is Mr. Rosser's AOS 5 Mark II, but this is the bind and fly of the quad from iFlight. So this is the AOS 5, Chris Rosser's fantastic design, the version 2 or the Mark II, whichever way we want to call it. And it is very, very nice, but this is the iFlight pre-built version of it, which is available to buy on the iFlight website. It is listed now. We'll take a look in a minute. It comes with the Zing 2 motors. It comes pre-configured. It comes with a Vista in it as well. So this is fully fitted with the Vista. And I have to say, it is a very, very nice aircraft. In fact, I'm going to give you guys a bit of a sneak comment. I think this is the nicest flying aircraft I've ever flown. I think it is a very, very interesting aircraft, and it flies extremely well out the box. It really does. So we've got the Zings. I've crashed it a bit today. It's been in the trees at least once. I've currently got a camera mount fitted, which I'm moving on about. It's fitted with a Vista in the back, and it's got the iFlight stack, but it is tuned very, very nicely. And for a long time, Chris has said just how well his frames fly, but I have to say it really does fly well. Now, if let's go to the iFlight website a second, and I'll show you what the spec is on this. It's a very nice aircraft. Very nice aircraft. The AOS bind and fly. So it's this one here. And I'm going to be doing a proper review of this aircraft. No, the props are not in view at all. If you look from above, the props are just not in view. Yeah, you just don't see them at all. It really, really flies well. I'll be honest with you. Now, it is available in multiple configurations. This version is the DJI version. I'll be honest, I'm going to be converting it to Express LRS because I forgot how bad the DJI RC Link was. It's all right for long range, but you get behind some trees. There's been 3 times where I've crashed, right, and I've retained video and lost RC Link. And I was like, why? And I couldn't enable turtle mode because I couldn't get the RC to link, and I had to walk all the way towards the bloody aircraft, and then the RC kicked back in and it was working. So I need to go back to Express LRS on it. But that's nothing to do with the build. That's just DJI. But yeah, it's a very nice aircraft. And the build of this is they're using the Blitz Mini F7 1.1. They're using the Blitz Mini 55 amp ESC. It includes the Negative V5 props, although I've changed them because I broke them. I'm just trying to see what it's the Zing 2. So I just wanted to see what the motors 2 to 6S, recommended 6S. Where's the motors? What motors have they used? The 2207 Zing 2s, which are really nice. It flies really, really well. I'll be honest, it shocked me just how nice it was out the box. I literally, because Chris very kindly arranged for it to arrive, and I opened it, I literally had to just put the props on, bind everything, and he is certainly a man of his word where he says how well it flies, because it does. It really does. It really, really does fly very, very well. I've been flying it today. I will be doing a video on this. There will be a review on this quad. It's hard to make a video of how well a quad flies, though, because, look, A, I'm not the greatest pilot in the world, to say the least. B, I can stabilize it to hell to make it look lovely. C, it'll all depend on the camera. I can tell you how it flies, and I can give you some thoughts on it, and I can show you some footage. But the reality is, it's hard to go, this is, just look, this is the best flying quad. You can only sort of say, this this is a quad. Some comments on the price. I'll be honest, it's not that bad when you price up the components now. I think people got to understand stuff is now expensive. Stuff is now expensive. Yes, it's listed. How much is it up for? $495. That's with the Vista on board as well. It's not terrible. People complain about price, but you got to take that stuff into account. You know, it comes with the Vista built in. You know, so, you know, you don't have to have a digital. It is a digital version, you know. It's designed to that. It's a great aircraft. I'll be honest, genuinely, and nothing because of Chris sent it to me for free. If it was a load of shite, I'd tell you it was a load of shite. In fact, I'd just send it back to him and say, sorry, Chris, I'm not interested. Genuinely, first pack, 6S, took it out, and I was like, wow, just no prop wash, close to zero, really smooth. And you know what was really interesting? This was something I've noticed, right? I fly with I tend to have a lot of expo, okay, on the sticks. Say lot, 0.35 on movement sticks, and probably 0.3 to 0.4 on the throttle. I like a lot of expo. That's just the way I am. Now, this comes stock with no expo, and it just felt right. I've added a bit now just to give me a little bit more over the throttle, mostly. But yeah, it flies just really well. It just flies well. Can it handle a GoPro? Yeah, absolutely. It's designed to fly with a GoPro. $86 for the frame. No, and we'll talk about Bot Grinder's frame a bit in a minute as well, because Bot's got his new frame. It's not great expensive. It's a lovely aircraft. It genuinely flies very, very well. There is a super chat. I will come back to that now. 1 minute. I'm not going to lose that one. I'll come back to you on that one in a second. Stick to analog. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with analog at all. AOS 5 V2. Yes, AOS 5 V2. It's lovely. I can't tell you. I haven't got the scales with me. You'll have to wait for the review on the weight. What are they saying it is? Let's just have a look. If they've got it listed on the website, I'll tell you. 350 grams without the battery. It's a really nice frame. I'm going to be flying my analog build later this week, Bruce, funny enough. I need to get some more stick time practicing. I'm having some problems. Probably next week or so. But yeah, it's a really nice aircraft. Genuinely, I've gone to the overhead. Nothing not to like on here. It's really clean build as well from iFlight. Really is tidy. Yeah, what's not to like? Really is that simple. It really is that simple. So we'll be talking about that in a proper review, where I'll show you all of the proper overview of everything then. And sorry, I can't talk about the mount that's on the camera. I've seen some comments. Move on. Move on. Wait till tomorrow. I'm going to eat some cake. I'll say this. You guys have got eyes. I'll tell you this. You guys have got eyes. I was wondering if anyone would notice. Good evening. So, let me get to this super chat before we move on. I start. Thank you, mate, for the $9.99 super chat. That's incredible. Okay. Spent all weekend routing installing WTFOS for 13 Vistas. God, where they? I need more space on my thing. Let me scroll up to find it. Right. Spent all weekend routing and installing WTFOS for MSPOSD on 13 Vistas and E units and linking them all to the new V2 goggles. How do I get LQ or RSI whilst using the DJI remote? Is it possible? No. You're relying on the DJI's internal system. I don't believe they pump that out over MSP. So I don't believe you can if you're using the DJI remote. I'll be honest, I like the DJI remote. I've flown it quite a lot today, and I've enjoyed the remote, but not the link. Do you know what? The almost perfect remote for me would be hacking this into an Express ELRS remote. It would almost be perfect for me then, if I could do that. I don't believe DJI output that information over the link. Maybe it's a question for the guys at the team whether this can be done. Whether it could be that it could be picked up somehow on the air unit side and put it out. Someone hacked it into Crossfire. Have they? I haven't seen that. Hey Jack, can the DJI FPV goggles spectate for the Vista? Sorry, let me rephrase that. Mars Tech, hey Tech, can the DJI FPV goggles spectate for the Avata? V2s officially yes, but there are some real quirks around it. Only V2s. You got to turn on broadcast mode. And there has been a quirk around what is the master and the slave right now. I can't remember. M. Bundy's done this, and I can't remember which way around it was. I almost think he had to use the V2s as the main goggle and then use the goggles 2 as the spectator. But I could be wrong, and I'm going to eat a piece of cake. Junus has said, no idea, but probably. I believe that's what they had to do. Bruce's comment, he's trying to get me demonetized. Sean's here for the cake. This is the only stream where the host eats on here. It's terrible, isn't it? Terrible behavior. It's just so unprofessional, but it's become a habit. Someone used the audio jack for a receiver. Yeah, you could do... yeah, potentially. It's all a bit messy, that. To be honest, people have put in TX16 gimbals, haven't they? So at that point, if you just do that, you could probably just convert it into a TX16 somehow. Yeah, as far as I'm aware, you can't do that at the moment. I'm having my cake and I'm eating it this time. Yes, I am. I'm going to have another swig of tea before we move on. So yeah, this week we had that on Friday, which was fantastic. I know you don't have an answer, but please tell me again. They are working on hacking the firmware for 0015. Okay, the guys will get around to that stuff. They have ideas, but they've been so busy. Give them time. 0015 can be routed. It's just not out there yet. It's a matter of time. I would guess it's one of the things that is on the upper priority list, but there are a lot of things on the priority list. They probably need a week off after the unexpected early launch of the system this week. That caught all of us off guard. And yeah, they've had a tough week. Let's give them a chance. Let's give them a chance. Who spotted the huge packet of chocolate digestives? Yeah, I brought them up as well. So, but yeah, I would like, they'll get to it. They'll get to it. So, DJI, yeah, really, is DJI the best option? I genuinely think today it's one of the best options. Now, Avatar, I need to fly it again this week. I want to start. I've been waiting for it to come up. I'm waiting for this new firmware. And then when that comes out, I'm going to do a proper review of the system versus the others again. I do think Avatar is a good system, but it needs work. It does need work. PSA, spent all weekend with a Walksnail 1-watt VTX, and it's the current firmware doesn't work with 2630 or 6 or 20 goggles. You get telemetry from the VTX, but no image. Oh, wow, Carl, I didn't know that. I don't have one of their VTXs to try. So have you tried the firmware that was revoked? You can still get the new firmware. I don't know if you know that. 2636. What is the latest one? What is the link? It was FP. What's the link to Junus? What's the link to the firmware? Where's that being held? Let me go on Facebook. If I go on Facebook, he's posted it in the avatar. The list for the avatar firmware that that Thing's made. I can't remember what the website is. Walksnail official. Every time a new firmware releases, he posts it. I'll find it now. There's the new firmware and firmware and firmware and where is it? Jack, I think it's Jack who usually posts it. D3VL. Here we go. Avatar firmware. So this has all of the latest firmware versions here. If you don't know about this, I'll link to it in the chat. I thought the quickest way to get to this was this. So the 1S came with 2631.7. Interesting. And it doesn't work. And what was it you said? It doesn't work. Oh, thank you for the info. 2636. And it come with 2631.7. So you on there. 2631.7 is there. So you want it on this website. Try it on any of these. I try it on 2732.10. The versions on Avatar usually have to match. Okay. So have you tried it? The 1S came with 2631.7. So have you tried 2631.7 on your goggles? John Birkland, the DJI system has become the best system because someone forced it open and should be obvious what Walksnail need to do to compete. Very interesting comment. And the one before. Try going higher then. Go to 2732.9 or 2732.10. Give them a try. There's nothing wrong with them. People, they've pulled them, but they can't. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with them. Give them a shot. It could be a faulty VTX though. Yeah, as Bruce has said, or the camera connection as well. MIPI cable. Try them all. You could have a faulty unit then. You get an image on first bind. Interesting. Have you reached out to Walksnail and asked him? So Bruce said he's been flying analog. I'm going to fly analog this week. Bruce, did you say you were testing that monster VTX? Which one was it you said you were testing? What is it going on with analog VTXs right now? Bruce, what one did you say you're testing? What is it with analog VTXs right now? It's gone out of control. It's just getting insane. So if we look on here. So what have we got? New arrivals. 2.5 watt. So which one have you been doing, Bruce? The Reaper Extreme. So the 2.5 watt. What's it like, Bruce? Does it make much of a difference? More power is insane. Who's made the 5 watt one I saw? Who is it? Fox here have done a 5 watt one as well. Someone's done a 5 watt one. I can't remember who it was. Sounds like a firmware issue, to be honest, on that VTX. Fox here as well, was it? So they've done a 5 watt one. So we've got the... Have they not got it listed on the website? That's a crazy amount of power. I saw the 5 watt, but I didn't pay much attention to it. Who was it made by then? 5 watt VTX. I saw someone did a review. Oh, 5 watt VTX. I think it's on Facebook. Oh, it might be on their Facebook page, is it? Let's have a look. Fox here. Mountain. Ah, here we go. Is it there? Here we go. There it is. 5 watt VTX from Fox here. Cooling fan built in. What? Libby Tang was the one who posted it. Oh my God. That looks like the O3 sketch I made. Does, doesn't it? Directly on the VTX, probably. I bet it gets hot. Than 2.54. Yeah, only 40% more range, Bruce. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. 5 watts. But the 2.5 looks interesting, doesn't it? 40 channels, 2.5 watts. How hot does it get, Bruce? The 2.5, even at 1.5 watts. What's the temperature like? 5 watt HDZero. Why not go for 10 watt? If you're going for 5, you may as well go for 10. I like the man's style. If you're going to do 5, you may as well go 10. MMCX, by the look of it, just warm. That's interesting. Because I remember having a look on the bench, obviously, and not in the air, at what was it? The 1200 watt one I've got over there. In a plane that is always set to 25 milliwatts when I fly. And you can't even touch it. You can't touch it. It gets that hot, it'll melt the foam in the plane. That's the one I reviewed on the channel. Wow. Hot. Do not touch. What camera have you paired with that, Bruce? That's interesting. Does it have a low power mode as well on these? Are they introducing things like a low power mode? That'd be nice. You can do it on a switch. It's got tramp. So yeah, there we go. It's not that big neither, is it? Let's be honest. It's not that big at all. Even has pit mode. Nice. Is that available in the UK? Can I order one? Should we see? Not sure I'm going to find that at a UK dealer. No. Not available in the UK, so I'd have to order one from Banggood. Did they send it to you, Bruce, or did you buy it? That's a hell of a bit of kit. If not, reach out to Libby. I wouldn't mind having a look at one of them. Have you torn it down? It'd be nice to see inside. It's not on Banggood neither. The Foxy is shipped to the UK. Why buy this and worry? I mean, when it's on the ground, so it doesn't set itself on fire. 5 watt, that is incredible. Order one for me too. We'd like to give that a try. We'd like to give that a try. Because I've got... Wait, 1 second. So my analog build uses what is said to be the best analog camera on the market. And that is the T-Rex from Fox here. Said to be one of the best analog cameras on the market. And that's what I use in my analog build. There's a TBS in the back. VTX. And that's my analog smasher build. Image quality isn't great. People say, this is the best camera, yet it's all right, but it's not brilliant, if I'm honest. But But I do still have that aliasing crap on the goggles. It's a pretty good camera. It's said to be the best camera. It is said to be the best camera. And I also have the other one they make. What was the other one? Let me just look. I ordered two. So I have Falco 3 as well. So I had... Actually, I ordered 3 cameras. So I got a toothless 2. There's nothing in there. So yeah, I've got a Falco 3 and a toothless 2. A Vista excluding camera. Yeah, that is the problem. Yeah, so I've also got the Falco 3 Micro and the toothless 2 Micro as well. Both 1200 TVL. One's a 1/2 inch sensor. What's the sensor on that? 4x3 and 16x9, 4x3 wide, 60. Yeah, so I got them as 2. I bought a bunch of analogs. Okay, would you Tim Slattery, would you recommend the iFlight drone you've just shown to a beginner to progress, as I've just bought a DJI digital FPV drone and it's all on the latest software, so I can't do any of the hacks? Okay. Chris's drone isn't particularly expensive when you add up the cost of DJI Digital. So if you want to have digital FPV, you're going to be paying that price. What I don't know is what is the cheapest sort of digital bind and fly you can get today? That's an interesting question and one I don't actually know. Now, if we look on iFlight's website, okay, they make quads, so they've got their own ones as well. So if we're talking about, if you want digital, because you've already got digital, you're going to be spending $450, $500. It's going to happen with a digital system because you're spending, there's $150 in the digital side. You won't go wrong with it. There may be cheaper options. I don't know what would be. You can't filter on here by digital, which is a bit frustrating. Freestyle quads. Nice saving. Buy the eSheen Wizard 3. It's an interesting one. And put a Vista in it. 350. Nice saving. The only problem with eSheen is how does it last? That's my only concern. That's my only concern, is how well would it last. The Wizard isn't a great aircraft, as Bruce has just said there. I've seen a lot of comments on it. I'm trying to think what would be a reasonable price bind and fly digital. If we got to get FPV, I don't know if do these guys actually separate them out? Ready to fly. I don't want cinema drones. I want ready to fly digital drones is what I want. So drone bundles. I want a bundle. I want not commercial industry. So I want FPV. Ready to fly drones. Is there a digital category? So let's go on RTF. And can we say, oh, here we go. Oh, no, go back. Let me just see. Can we then choose the VTX style? You could choose receiver protocol. Number of blades, material, cell count, range. Come on. Surely we can choose digital. Polarization. Left-hand circular polarized would hint towards being DJI. Here you go. There's not a lot in stock, is there? Look. There really isn't. There's nothing really around. Bit safer if you're starting out 4 inches. That's a good shout, Bruce. Quadcopter frames. Go for Go for 4-inch. Ready to fly. Where's it gone? You're not going to... Crux 35 is $250. That's... Okay, so if... Yeah, here we go here. Cadex Polar Vista, $379. You know, you're saving $100 there. Flywoo Explorer, analog, $239. Let's be honest, you could put in a Vista in that, $350. Yeah. Flywoo Explorer long range, HD, no FPV system. See there, look at that. That's as low as $219. You could put a Vista in that. You could put a Vista in that. And you know, you'd be $350 all in. So there's options. It's doable. Absolutely doable. What I would say is the iFlight is a quality quad, but it will be more expensive to repair as well, because if you bang a motor, you've got to buy a Zing 2 and things like that. So that's that one. Okay, so let's get back up here. Someone mentioned an interesting comment, and that is something very interesting, actually. What's up, FPV? 2000 TVL and 5 watt would be as good as HDZero. I'm not convinced it would, because there's no replacement for displacement. At the end of the day, resolution is resolution. But it would be interesting to see how that power behaved in like penetration and stuff like that. That is a lot of power. That is a lot of power. Fox here seem to be on a right old march right now. Filtration, so many black bands when running high power. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see it on the spectrum analyzer though, wouldn't it? Could be a good reason to get one. No, that's the problem. You can't screw to 8 meg. That's... No, you're never going to have the same resolution. You can't replace resolution. As I said, there's no displacement. There's no replacement for displacement. Resolution is resolution. You can't force that. But you can... FPV cams, high res. What's the highest res Foxia do? T-Rex Mini, there you go, 1500 TVL. So that's as good as it's going to get. How will that power affect other parts of the UAV? Interesting. I wouldn't expect it to cause too many problems. You might just get a bit of arcing on the frame now and again. It's a lot of power though, isn't it? That's a lot of power. Got 2 Demi Bots in order. I haven't ordered yet. For those who haven't seen, that's a great segue, Mike. Bot Grinder's frame has released. The Demi Bot is out there. Let me find the link to it, because the link is actually on my community page. I put it up on my community page. I shared a post about it. Community, where is it? There it is. Here we go. The Demi Bot, which is Bot Grinder's new frame, looks solid, to be fair. Looks really, really solid. Bot Grinder approved. Really does look like a solid frame overall. $89, so it's on the higher end of frame costs. But, to be fair, a lot of the bigger frames are at that cost now as well. It looks an absolute beast of a thing, built like a tank. And yet, it really does look like a hell of a frame. Bot's frame takes far too long to build. Yeah, it's really straightforward to put together. I watched the video. If you haven't seen Bot's video on it, it's worth a look. But these plates, just look at these plates. Do you know what it reminds me of? And it actually does remind me of the Thug frames. The one I've got here. That analog quad was a Thug frame. Where is it? This. The thickness of everything reminds me of the Thug. So, you know, this is a Thug. Look at the arms on that. This frame. It's got... The top plates are a bit thinner. But this thing is just built like a brick crap house. It really is. It does remind me of the old Thug frames. This is like my old basher. This thing just takes a beating and keeps working. It really does. That's why it looks beaten up, because it is beaten up. And it's a great little aircraft. But Bot's frame reminds me of that. Genuinely does remind me. The back lower plate has too many cutouts. There's a weak there. Yeah, he did say he'd snapped one there, hadn't he? Perhaps they want to... Is there an underneath picture? Yeah, you can see there at the front. Yeah, you can see the back there. There's the risk area there, isn't it? Yeah, guitar neck arms. Yeah, it looks like it from this angle, doesn't it? Yeah, they should have probably... Well, yeah, that one there probably should have just not been there, in it, that middle one. But it's, yeah, it's a solid looking bit of kit. It really, really is. And it is available now. Might not work for the toilet tank. But yeah, super interesting. And they have some TPU bits available, spare arms. It was the bottom plate. There you go. So no, it's not that one. Wait there. Let me find which one it is. Mid plate. So it's the mid plate that's more likely to go. It's this one here. Oh, that's weird. What's happened there, Sean? Sean's been on the barn hammer. How do you 300 seconds. You'll have to wait 300 seconds, I'm afraid, Flush and Mike. I can't find how you undo it either. 300 seconds. It's not long. Please accept to apologise. Oh, wait there. Now. View deleted message. View deleted message. I think he's accidentally hit a button. Sorry, guys. I don't know how to undo that. You bad man. Sean's been having fun. It'll come back in a minute. Take my reg, please. That was odd. That was odd. I'll leave it on, Sean. Revoke. I can't see. It is not giving me the option to revoke. I got remove, but I guess delete the comment. It'll sort itself out. It'll sort itself out. That's what you should have done, Sean. That one. There we go. Sean brought the porn with him. 22 seconds to go. It won't be long. Oh, here's another one. Here we go. Hide these on the channel. Here come the spam bots. You know your populator when the spam bots come in. We've got them. So, anyway. That's that. That's weird. That's real weird, isn't it? That's weird. That's strange. I suspect that was a Google YouTube quirk. That's bizarre. That's really, really bizarre. It's Sean. We now have proof that Sean is behind all of the things. Okay, guys. So that's the DJI. That is... it's always just past the hour every live stream. That's interesting, isn't it? It's just past the hour. That's a good point, Audio Geek. That is a good point. It might be something that triggers after a period of time. But I think so. Obviously, we've spoken about DJI. We have 165 grams for the frame. It's Bot's fault. It's definitely Bot's fault. That's the system with DJI. Now, we are waiting for what's going to happen with HDZero. It won't be long before we have the new thing. I'm going to talk about this a little bit. I made some comments in last week's stream that I don't believe, and I still stand by those comments, that most pilots can tell the difference between 20 and 30 milliseconds. I said the top 5% could tell, but I'm just going to say most pilots, okay? And my comments went on to talk about variability of latency being the thing people tend to feel the most, in my opinion. And again, it is my opinion. Now, there was a post on Facebook, and I just put a reply. I just got a reply, but it was just like, it was put up on the HDZero group, and then it was like, I just went to write it, and I started writing, and then you had some people who come on who don't particularly like me, and then I was just like, I can't be bothered to argue this. It's an opinion at the end of the day. What's frustrating at times is that everything you say is jumped on, and it has to be dissected into every level. You know, the comment is really simple. I don't believe most pilots, I said the top 5 to 10%, but most pilots can feel the difference between, say, 20 and 30 milliseconds. That's just an opinion I have. I feel that most people feel the variability of latency, and if you had people flying at 30 or 40 milliseconds and people were flying at 30 or 40 milliseconds, absolutely fine. You adapt. That's it. Now, obviously, HDZero has sold itself on being a low latency product, but it's actually a fixed low latency product. And what it really does well is that fixed latency. And it's going to be really interesting when HDZero launches with the 1080p mode at 30 frames a second, which is going to be in the 40 milliseconds range, and how the pilots then get on with that, again, though, being fixed. And I firmly believe most people won't really notice the difference. Most people won't really see. You will just get used to it. You will adapt. The key is variability of latency. But anyway, there was a big post on Facebook, and it turned into a bit of a crap show, to be honest. I haven't been on to have a look at what was said afterwards. I think I upset someone who follows the channel. It was genuinely not meant to upset you, but my comments were, look, I can't be bothered to argue this. The comments I made were really simple, but the comments you've taken is out of context, because you just took, I said you can't only 5 to 10% pilots, but you're taking a small section of a full conversation. And the full conversation was that, and went on to say about all of the other bits. But at the end of the day, it's an opinion. My opinion isn't necessarily right. It is not the be-all or end-all. So I'm going to be careful with HDZero, because everything you seem to say on HDZero gets taken one way or another right now by the community. You have quite an active community, but also quite a defensive community as well. I like the product. I have promoted the product probably more than anyone over the years. However, it doesn't mean it gets a free pass on everything, and I'm still going to say where it's good and bad, and I always have and always will, and I've always been fair with what I've said. So, you know, but we're going to have to see, and there's a lot around the corner for HDZero. We do have the goggles coming, and I'm really excited for them. I think they're going to be good. They might be the best analog goggles that exist, even because of the deinterlacing as well. They could look fantastic. They really could look fantastic. I'm just going to have a drink. No, I usually don't care. It just turned into a bit of a fanfare, and I was just like, I don't see why it requires all of this noise. It's a comment I made, my opinions on the greatest in the world. You know, I am not the best pilot in the world. I'm not the greatest freestyle pilot. I don't do a huge amount of freestyle because of where I live. I don't do a great amount of racing. I fly so many different things. I'm okay at all and not good at everything, simply because of the variation on aircraft I'm bloody flying most of the time. I'll go and pick up the wing and I'll take that for a fly, or I'll go and pick up... Well, actually, William Tan, I used that very same comment in it. in fact, on the post. So, yeah, I use that very same thing. I'm an Ian of all trades who flies little. Look, it's really easy. You fly 5 packs a day on the sticks, freestyle. Give it a month, you'll be on top of things. You'll be on top of all of the moves. Practice, practice, practice. It's really simple. It's not... It's easy to say some pilots are amazing and some are not. There are people who have genuine skill. That's different. But everyone gets to a certain level by practice. And if I wanted to be flying bandos and I just went to one every day and flew it every day, then my skill level of bandos would go up. That's just inevitable. If I flew 5 packs every single day, it would be fine. But I don't. I do fly a lot, but I'm flying so many different things. And to be honest, most of the time, and this is something I need to change a bit, I'm at the moment flying too much for a reason which isn't what I want to do or for flying. I've been flying the last couple of days for 3 or 4 different reasons. Shoot out, do some very quick flights for a specific reason, and come back and have a look at the result and then shoot out. I've been doing so much testing, it's taken away from being just able to fly. That's the problem, and I want to calm down a bit. The reviews and stuff have just got too busy. It's really great, some of the stuff, but I want to get back to the content I want to be able to make. And that's what we're going to be doing over the next couple of weeks. Yeah, bandos in the UK don't exist. We don't have... This is the real frustration. Let me just grab something. 1 second. I want that. I want that. And I want that. There we go. So, we don't have all of these like amazing places like you see in America. You watch Bot's video and they have some great abandoned theme park. If you watched his latest video, he has that theme park. And then they go to that. Did you see the one they went to, which was like that big industrial sort of, I don't know what it was. It was a factory, a plant. It was amazing. They broke in, they walked along the water at the front, and they went down there. I don't have the industrial stuff left in this country. It just doesn't exist. Bandos aren't supposed to be great. Yeah. It was a power station. That was it. It was the power station. They just don't exist round here. They just are not here. I live where it's fields and beaches. I can fly straight. I can fly under some trees. I can fly through some trees. I crash into some trees. That's pretty much how it goes. I'd love to get into doing a bit more FPV racing, but there's not a lot of that down where I live, and I am a long way. I freestyle fields all day. That's the problem, isn't it? It literally is just, I'll do a loop. I'll go upside down. I'll do that. There's not a lot here. If it's new construction, do you call it Fredo? Fly around the odd barn. It's interesting. Felt like 30 years back compared to London. Wow, that's interesting, Sean. But yeah, there's not. It's not like it is everywhere else. You see these guys flying these amazing locations, and it's just not reality for most people. That's the thing, most of my areas is beaches, beaches and the odd field I have access to, and that's it. And look, I don't hide that. That is what it is. I don't have... There is a place I'd love to be able to fly, but you can't get in there now. They've got daylight security. Brandos. Sheep. I can power loop a car one day. I should do that. But yeah, you don't have the places to put the experience in. like on those. And you know, I've never pretended I'm not the greatest pilot in the world. I'm far from it. I can fly a quad, I can throw a quad around, I can toss it up, I can toss it down, left, right. Tend to always fly right. Don't know why. Just do. I always turn the same way. I have a automatic inherent bias to rotate one direction. I just don't know why. Every time. I don't even anymore feel natural turning the other way. I could do it, but it just doesn't feel right. I don't know why it's happened to me. It's because I fly in big fields, so I always just go around one way. Yeah, and that's funny enough. There are some forests and places I want to go, and I'm going to do a few more foresty stuff. That's probably something I'm going to up a little bit. Fly L shapes is good training. Don't always have turn right. Make your net lean to the left. I have an inherent bias to turn right. I don't know why. It's just crazy. Fields and abandoned power station chimneys here in Yorkshire. Nice. We just don't have that. Yeah, because they're not flying the kind of places I was flying. I'd be competitive in NASCAR. I'd just go around. Oh, never be. Sorry. We need more frequency episodes, please. Can we see the digital camera frequency affect the GPS? Avatar GPS. That's a complicated problem. I have a video. Are you talking about that? Move to Yorkshire, earn less, can't afford. Yeah, that is the truth. If you're yeah, right. There is no RF output from the VTX. The problem is the noise the VTX makes on the data lines and from it. And there is no fix. I have a video going over the whole thing, and I haven't published it because I took it out and it was exactly the same. I'm probably going to re-edit the video into explaining what I'd done to try and fix the problem, but it didn't fix it. That included shielding the line, shielding the VTX. The only solution is distance. That's the only solution to fixing it. Rip the English channel. It's only 13k, isn't it? Yes, DLMI. Yes, it was discussed on Friday. It is something that might be possible. You could quad it. 13 kilometers is doable. Yeah, it's definitely doable. 100%, isn't it? It's only 13Ks. Is it 13 or 16 kilometers? It's not a great distance, isn't it? Or 16 miles, whatever it is. It's doable. Avatar would do it. Heat shrink seems to help. Interesting, Dennis. What? Heat shrink the VTX or the GPS? Walksnail from England to France and just let it burn on the beach. If I didn't set it on fire, the French would anyway. Isn't yours where anyway I can see most people? Is there a place in Yorkshire or anywhere that I can meet people or do FPV so we can learn more about the hobby? It's finding groups. Get onto a group. Try and find like an FPV Discord group. I don't know what the big ones in the UK are. Facebook is the best place to get onto with it now. Land a wing. If not, you land a wing waving a white flag. Behave. If I didn't set it on fire, the French would. They always get upset on something. But yeah, so look, you know, I'm not the greatest pilot in the world, but I know I can feel latency. I'm to be honest, I'm a bit the same as a pilot as I am a photographer. I do a bit of photography, not so much in the last 12 months, unfortunately, but I'm quite a technical photographer in the sense of I understand the technology of photography very deeply, and how cameras work at quite a deep level because I'm a technical person and I can use cameras and I can take some very nice images and I can do it. But I'm not super creative as a photographer, although some people say I have been, but I don't feel super creative. And it's very much the same as aircraft. You know, there are pilots who are creative. They are naturally skilled, but they don't know how to build a quad. I'm the opposite end of the scale. I can fly. I can really feel what is good and bad, and I can tell you if something doesn't feel right or how it all behaves. FPV UK, great idea. Sorry, Bruce, I couldn't think of that. But I'm not the most flashiest of pilot who can toss it around in places. You know, that's just not what I am. And I could do it with more practice, but it is what it is. Amazing music. Yeah. Some can really play, but others can create amazing music. Yeah, exactly. You know, if you take the Beatles couldn't read music. Yet look what they did. That's a classic example of it. Dave Grohl couldn't read music, yet look what he did. And Dave Grohl is an interesting guy. He plays the guitar like you play the drums because he was a trained drummer. Definitely consider FPV UK. Definitely FPV UK. Go fly Clarkson's place. Yeah, he'd be happy. You can imagine it. Okay, guys. So if you've got any questions, please do put them in the chat. That's that little bit of nonsense over. But yeah, so anything I say, please, people, it doesn't warrant a thread on Facebook tearing apart of why I've said it. I tend to be out the way. I tend to fly out the way. There's a video coming from me tomorrow with a little bit of flight footage on. Ooh, find love in my own town. Thank you very much for that. FPV motors make music. Yes, they do. Yeah, you might find a video from me with a little bit of flying tomorrow. I've literally, the weather the last 2 days, right? Yesterday morning, got up, the sun was shining, so ran up here, charged some batteries, got outside, it was chucking down. So between the flights, I then rushed out when it, between the showers, got a flight in, got 2 flights in and come back, looked at the footage and went, ooh, not so sure about that. Need to get back out. The weather came out dry, went out and forgot some ND filters. But took some more footage, and then today I've gone to the field and thrown it around and done some more footage. But something I'll be talking about tomorrow, I've had not as much as I would have liked. Now, over the next week on the channel, there are some videos coming up. There's going to be a video coming up on something tomorrow. There's going to be a video coming up. I've got this new charger from Toolkit RC. They sent this to me, and it's actually very good. I can't complain about it. I'm going to warn people now, I'm not going to do the most in-depth video in the world on it. It's a charger. It works. There's nothing to complain about. That's it. I'm not going to make a 40-minute video tearing it apart. I'm going to take it apart. We'll have a look inside. Where is it? It's the new M8C, I think it is. This. Let me put it on the overhead. I need to clear the desk now. This. The new M8C. Is it the M8C? M7AC, sorry, the new M7AC. New small charger from Toolkit RC. I have a review of it coming. We'll tear it down, we'll have a look. I've tested it. It works fine. I got no complaints. I have one complaint, which I'll talk about in the video. But, yeah. Now, the last time I did something from Toolkit RC, people complained that the video wasn't in-depth enough for my channel and they would have expected more. Now, the problem is, if it just works, I don't see the point of going crazily in-depth. I took it apart, we had a look inside, but I have tested everything on this and it's absolutely fine. All of the voltages are correct. The balancing is correct. The I/O, the inputs, outputs are the correct voltages. The balancing is spot on, as I just said. It's rated at the rating it's delivered. I've drawn that much current through it. I don't really want to make a 40-minute video on something that just works. So I'm going to basically tell you what I've done and tell you what it's like. Now, I haven't torn it down at this point yet, so if there's anything dodgy inside, we'll find that. Yeah, that's not been done yet. But yeah, it's a good little charger. I cannot complain about it. I just can't complain about it. There's nothing not to like, you know. On the overhead, I saw the question. I'll come back to that. You've got DC, AC, output 6030, 6S. Yeah, well, it's a good little charger. The only weird and oddity on this, and actually, Bruce might be able to answer this. Bruce, I need to understand something a bit more. On the recycle mode, right, where it puts voltage back into the main battery you're supplying it with, this doesn't seem to be detecting the voltage of that battery. So what I mean is this. I tell this to recycle into a lead acid battery. 12 volts, typical lead acid leisure battery. But the output voltage is going up and up and up, way higher than I'm comfortable with for the charging voltage on a lead acid. It's almost like it doesn't detect what the load is that it's going back into. Now, I don't know if it's me missing something. Yeah, well, it's going to like 17, 18 volt if you leave it. Oh, well higher. Well higher. It's creeping up to like 17, 18. 14 I'd be fine with. 15 I'd be okay with. Not 18. So it won't care about voltage. That's what I'm thinking. Which is a little bit worrying. Well, it should be loaded. It's charging the battery. Yes, it will do just voltage. Yes, it will act as a power supply. Load it up and the voltage should drop. Yeah, so I'm guessing the battery is basically charged. Therefore, it's just creeping up. Just, yeah. Not good. I would rather, you would assume it would have a limit. Now, someone asked something I was going to come back to. What camera do I use for the overhead? I think there was. Charlie RC, what camera do I use for my overhead? You're looking one for your chit streams, and I build Lego on stream. My Logitech webcams are just pants. So, just to give you a rundown of the cameras I use on the channel. This is a Panasonic G9 with a fixed 17mm prime lens. F1.7, I think that thing goes to. This is a Panasonic GH5 with an 12 to 60 f2.8. They're both very good cameras. The reason I don't use the GH5 here is simply because I can't remember. I can't remember why I don't use the GH5 up front. Oh, I know. The GH5 is also used for other things as well. So the GH5, I take off and use it for other stuff. So it's easier to take off if it's overhead. But this camera never moves. This one is always on a tripod and never moves. No, that's a tool charmer. Yeah, thank you, Bruce. But yeah, they're not cheap cameras. I'll be honest, though, if you're looking to get some good cameras for use, there are GH4s, a good price used. And I'm sure there's a GX something Panasonic make that a lot of people use. A lot of people use. They're not crazy money. They're really not. I Lumix. List of Lumix MFT cameras. I'll tell you now that there's one camera a lot of people use. And I'm sure it's like a G100 or something like that. I don't want the lenses, I want the cameras. G50 could be. Could be a G. There's one. It won't be silly money. Oh, G95 is one, but there's an older one. And I can't remember what it is, but yeah, I use MFT is what I use. MFT predominantly. Could be the G85. Yeah, it could be the G85, actually. It could be the G85. That rings a bell. I believe it's a good camera. What's the price of a G85? It's still a bit expensive, that. It was one you can get for like 200-300 quid. There is one you can get 200-300 quid. And I do have another camera. Over there I have... over there is my baby, which is this, which you can't really see very easily. That is a Lumix S5. So, there you go. There you go. When people complain about the price of quads, right? When people complain how much a drone costs, price up that lens. Then you stop worrying about the price of aircraft. When you start pricing up L-mount glass, it suddenly becomes trivial. The price of L-mount glass is eye-watering. But yes, that's my precious. Is that one. So, yeah. Because of necessity, so is that. Anyone who has to buy L-mount glass is just... It's not as... I could argue it's as bad as Sony. But yeah, get yourself a good DSLR. A cheap, good DSLR with HDMI output will outperform any standard camera. Doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter how old it is. Just get yourself a good DSLR with a good lens, and it will be just a different league. It'll be better in every possible way. Okay, so I'm going to leave that there a minute. We're going to move that. Okay, guys. If you've got any questions, please do put it in the chat. Before we wrap this one up, I want to have a look at that Foxeer VTX. I'm going to get one of them in to have a look at. Are you going to tear yours down, Bruce? Can it be torn down? If there's any more questions, please do put them in the chat. Let us know. Please do give the stream a like. We've had 83 likes so far. There are 173 of you amazing people here. Thank you, Sean, for the weekly payment as well. That didn't slip past me without notice. I do appreciate it. I'm not sure. It's so nice. Cool. The last thing I was just going to touch on, we've had that. I'm trying to just make sure I haven't. Brandon Beans, how are you, my friend? M50 Mark II, nice camera. You'll get plenty of Tony on the M50 as well. You'll get lots and lots of Tony on the M50. Depends what lens you'll get, but your Tony factor will go off the roof. I prefer the 5-watt turn down if you could get one. Yeah, that's a beast. Just reading down the chat. TVS diodes. That's the last subject. Well done. Okay, so TVS diodes. There has been a lot of chatter over TVS diodes in the last couple of weeks. JB has mentioned it several times. He's got a short out on it right now. And look, there is a lot of talk about TVS diodes being a complete waste of time. No point fitting. They don't work. They don't do anything. You don't need them. Now, I'm going to split this conversation up into two sections. Because the section one is, does a TVS diode do anything? And that is undoubtedly yes. The TVS diode will limit the rise of voltage, i.e. transient voltages, i.e. spikes. At a certain level, it will stop. So, TVS diodes categorically work. There is zero question they work. I have tested them on my own spectrum analyzers. I've got images for it. We're going to talk about that in the future as well. Okay? So, what is not in doubt is that TVS diodes do a job. Their function works fine. They're actually very accurate. They clip the voltage very nicely as well. If I could see my USB memory stick. Oh, actually, it's in my oscilloscope. 1 second. Let me plug this into my computer. I might even be able to show you some of the traces off the test. Now, I built a spark generator to test TVS diodes. Let me show you this. This thing here, right, with an Arduino. Now, it's disconnected at the moment. Overhead there. Refocus. Oh. Right, that'll all come back in. We have here an Arduino, which is programmed to control this high voltage device. Now, this device will output very high voltages, okay? 400 to 500 volts. So, this is programmed to create a spike from this every second. So I can go spike, 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 okay? So I can use that to then test if the TVS diodes work. That's what this does. So you can put like 5 volt into this and you get something like 400-500 volts out. That's what this does. So this has been tested and working. That's what this is. It's in the part at the moment, but I use this to test TVS diodes. So the idea is you test the diode to see if they're working. Now, I should have, let me just check on this a minute to see if it's now appeared. Some screenshots on here, but I don't know what ones are what, unfortunately. Let me just go back through and have a look and see if on this SD card I need to find somewhere on here will be, I'm just looking through. There's so many images on this USB stick. It's crazy. No, it's not there. No, they don't. Okay, so it looks like they're not on this one. No. No, unfortunately not. So, but I can tell you, and we will cover this in a video, the TVS diode works without doubt. What it does is clip the voltage above a certain level. So if you get a spike, it clips very quickly and it clamps that down to earth. So there is no doubt TVS diodes work. The question is, A, does a drone create transient voltages? So A transient voltage is a voltage that is higher than what the official voltage should be, aka voltage spikes. So does a drone create transients? Well, transients are usually created in inductive load situations. You can get them in capacitive load, but usually from inductive loads. And it is easily possible that a drone creates them. Okay? And then the second question is if the drone is creating them, yes or no, is the first question. And if it is creating them, is a capacitor able to absorb all of them? Now, the easiest way to think about a capacitor is a bit like a bucket, okay? So the capacitor fills up and down with water, just like a bucket would fill with water with energy. So the capacitor would fill up and down with energy, just like a bucket fills up down with water. But there is a point where the capacitor will be overloaded. And that is the question mark then of if a TVS diode is needed. Now, there has been a lot of testing by some guys who basically have said spikes are not created, and the ones that are created are absorbed by the capacitor. But the evidence isn't solid on this. We don't have enough testing to 100% say that. So the question is not if the TVS diode works. The question is, does a drone create voltage spikes? And if it does, is a capacitor large enough to absorb them? And at what point can a capacitor no longer absorb it any further? Now, the only easy way to test this really is in flight, or the only proper way to test this is in flight. I know Jay, one of the ExpressRS devs, or Jay, I can't remember how to say his name, he did it with a motor on the bench with an ESC and then broke the prop to see if you could see it that way. But I'm not convinced that's the right way of doing it. Now, what I would love to do ideally is strap an oscilloscope to the bottom of a quad and fly it and set the trigger at a high enough voltage. However, that isn't a simple task. What I would do, though, and what I have been thinking of doing, is strapping a portable oscilloscope to a drone. And when I say a portable one, Amazon sells these little $60 ones, which are palm-sized. They're actually about the size of this. I don't think a logger, Bruce, will do it quick enough. I don't think it will. All of the loggers I've looked at are just not going to be quick enough to pick it up. I was thinking of one of these $60 oscilloscopes, which are like this big, and literally strapping it to the quad and measuring the battery voltage with a preset trigger. So when you just take it for a spin, bring it in and just look, has it gone past the trigger voltage? So if it was 6S, set the trigger voltage at 35 volt or whatever, and then see if it passes it. Now that would be a proper way to see if transient voltages exist. Now, the question after that is, does a TVS diode work? Well, it's going to work. Use a diode to pump the capacitor and measure the voltage across the cap. That would stretch the transient. Yeah, there's a couple of ways of doing it. Now, I firmly believe, I will be honest, I firmly believe there are transients and TVS diodes make a difference. And I'm not saying they happen all of the time. I'm not saying they are super common. But when they happen, they do cause damage to systems. And I still personally think TVS diodes should always be used, especially if you're flying a digital VTX off V battery. If you're not flying a digital VTX off VBAT, then I wouldn't be overly concerned. Ah, Jay's there. There he is. There's our man. I still firmly believe they exist, simply based on the amount of lacking of failures I've had since using TVS diodes. I have not burnt an ESC or anything since using TVS diodes. And I also know a number of people who have been the same. Now, don't get me wrong. You'll always burn an ESC at some point. However, I firmly believe it's still there. Now, the question isn't, does the TVS diode work? We know they work. What we need to find out is, do the transients exist? And it's going to be really hard to find that out. You know, ideally, you just want to strap an oscilloscope to a quad and take it for a spin. So I was thinking of strapping one of those little ones, you know, the handheld oscilloscopes to one, because it would carry one of them. You know, you want to see, here's something super interesting. I've done the testing on this. You can get voltage spikes on the DJI FPV goggles in excess of 60 volts when you plug the connector in. You know when you plug in the V1s and V2s and you get a bit of a spark, or when you put the connector in? I've measured spikes or transients in excess of 60 volts on that connector, on the DJI. And that's just on the FPV goggles. They're there. They're there, ready to be seen. I firmly believe. Now, the question is the capacitor enough to take them out? That's really what the overall question is. But then there's the question of, well, what size capacitor? Then there's the question of what make, and is it good enough? And there's a lot of variables here. I also lean on the fact of, I don't think manufacturers would be fitting them if they weren't needed. I'll be honest, I'd also like to see TVS diodes on the data lines to VTXs. It's a short video, Dadog 92, the biggest you can. Should we have a cap and diode? Well, they're not burning out, so I wouldn't worry, Josh. But there's some big spikes there on the DJI input. I was plugging in my V2s one day, and I was like, there's a lot of spike there. Let's get this on the scope and have a look. And yeah. Voltage-wise, 35 or 50. 35 is enough for 6S, but you could go 50. Does JB's new cable have a TVS in it? I have no idea. I've not seen JB's cable. I've seen it, obviously. I think he made a video on it. I haven't seen his video. He mentioned it on a live stream. It would be likely there are... John Ann Birkland, considering the huge current spikes when flying FPV aggressively, it would be very likely there are transients. Yeah, for me, yeah. For me, the logic is there. I suspect that old batteries with high IR may be more likely to produce spike problems. Yeah, Bruce, that's a good point as well. There's so many variables here. There's so many variables at play. It's too hard to just say there are no spikes that cause problems, in my opinion. I think we need more data. And look, for the cost, I think it's something that would be good to have on every ESC. I'll be honest, the ideal scenario is every ESC had one. What flight condition would you see spikes? Well, spikes are generated in many conditions. You know, you're going to see it in a crash, potentially. You've got a high load situation in a crash. So you could go from a high load to a low load situation. So at that point, you have the potential for transients there through the ESC. So for instance, if you have a current stop on a motor, that energy in the motor, that inductive field in the motor, is going to have to dissipate. Now, that may dissipate one way or another. What it's very hard to say is it's black and white, because it just isn't black and white. There are too many potential scenarios here for it to go wrong. You know, there are many different situations. You know, when you drop off the throttle suddenly, when you have a crash suddenly, when you have a situation where you have a sudden change in high current load to low current load, there is the potential for it to happen. If you have a cap on the power pad of the VTX, is the RC filter insufficient? It should be fine. Digital is also substantially more sensitive. You know, the digital VTXs are more sensitive. I'll be honest, I think the digital VTXs should have TVS diodes on the data lines. That's why the Vistas have a habit of blowing the diodes, because there are voltage spikes on the data lines. What would be a very good idea is for digital flight controllers to actually have two data line TVS diodes to protect the UART on the VTX. That's why Vistas were blowing, simply because of spikes on the data lines. It's not particularly common, but it does happen. But then again, it all adds BOM, it all adds cost. So where do you draw the line? I just don't believe for 1 minute it's black and white. I think it's impossible to say for sure right now that there are not voltage spikes. And it's impossible to say without more testing, pardon me, that a TVS diode doesn't have an impact. If there are spikes and it clips them, it's having an impact. Whether that impact is the difference between burning an ESC or not is another question. I actually think, and this is an interesting one, most ESC burning scenarios is a result of BL heli and not the ESC itself. Most ESC FETs fail because of overcurrent, and it's being driven to do something when it can't. Most of the time that the motor is pointed at the ground. I think a lot of ESC damage could be avoided by improved firmware. Personally, I think there's, you know, from my own observations at times, there are times where I've felt that should have cut off by now, before now. A TVS diode instead of a capacitor, it does, you know, capacitor helps smooth it. Key failure for many ESCs. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people, though, have been... I know turtle mode is a complicated one. You know, there needs to be more work done in the ESC firmware than just dumping a bunch of current into a motor. I think we could see a lot more improvement in failure rates of ESCs with more intelligent behavior of what we're doing with the motor. Mr. Varty has said, only chance of spikes in my opinion is on plug-in. Yeah, plug-in is a real place. If you're killing gear on, maybe it's worth it. But other than that, I believe it's doing anything in flight based on the data we have recorded. Yeah, I think it's a difficult one to prove. This is the problem. We have to. Being black and white on it is hard. That's the problem. Testing it on the bench, I'm not convinced is enough. We need a full rig where you can fly it, which isn't easy. I'd like to see it in every scenario. Bench testing so much, you know, you can put a prop on, you can put it on upside down so it pushes at the ground. You almost could do with maybe running without a flight controller might be the better way of doing it. So you can spool up and down and do stuff. But if you have a wire breaking load, there are a lot of scenarios. What I'm not comfortable with saying is you don't need them. I would personally prefer everything as a backup, considering the cost of, like, you know, cheap TVS diodes like 35p. So on a 50 quid ESC, I see no reason there shouldn't be a 35 or 80p ESC TVS diode there. You know. That's the thing. Okay, guys. We're going to wrap this one up. It's been nearly 2 hours. Pop strikes don't. No, I know you did some good testing on that. Guys, I want to thank everyone for spending some time with us tonight. As always, we will be probably back same time, same place next week. I'm going to get the shilling out the way. If you haven't seen Wes's video, which we talked about earlier in the stream, please do go check it out. I will put a link to that in the description after I finish the stream. I want to say thank you to everyone who's donated the super chats tonight. It's been fantastic. We will be back in the week. There'll be a video going live tomorrow with some little bits, pardon me, on. And we'll be back same time, same place. So look after yourself, stay safe, and I will speak to you soon.